Hello and welcome to the second video on B8. So this is still on B8.1 and we're going to look at the leaf adaptations for photosynthesis, so how leaves are adapted for photosynthesis. So by the end of the video you will hopefully be able to describe how leaves are adapted for photosynthesis and identify some of the key structures within a leaf. If you need to pause the video at any time, please feel free to do so. There will be the opportunity for you to answer some questions, so you will be needing to pause at those times. So starting off, we're going to do a quick bit of recall from the last video, just to check what you can remember. Please pause the video to answer the questions. You have your do now, and then you have a challenge question as well. Pause the video now to write down your answers. And welcome back. We'll go through those answers now. So our word equation for photosynthesis, we've got carbon dioxide plus water. They are our reactants. We get the arrow, so it goes to they make glucose plus oxygen. Now obviously we need light to make it happen, so we write light above that arrow. Now our balanced symbol equation, we've got carbon dioxide and water on one side and glucose and oxygen on the other. So we have a balanced symbol equation of 6CO2 plus 6H2O goes to C6H12O6 plus 6O2, and obviously we need light to make it happen as well, so we write light above it. Now the challenge question is photosynthesis an endothermic or an exothermic reaction? It needs light to make it happen. Light is entering into the reaction. It's entering, that En at the start of entering lets us know it is endothermic. We take some of that energy from light and convert it to chemical energy in the form of carbohydrates. So we're going to look at the structure of the leaf and look at some of its adaptations. To do this, we're going to look at a cross section of a leaf. So if you imagine I've taken a leaf, I've sliced it sideways, and I'm looking at a section of it under the microscope. So we're going to draw what we've got. So at the top layer, we've got a waxy cuticle. Okay, so that waxy cuticle, just write it there. Right, waxy. I can apologise for the clicking. Got waxy cuticle, it's a waxy layer. It helps to prevent the leaf from getting too wet, so it stops water seeping into the leaves and damaging them. Below that layer, we've got the upper epidermis. So the upper epidermis is a thin layer of cells. They are thin and transparent. They provide a bit of protection. I'm not going to draw parts of the cell unless I'm going to draw the nucleus or the chloroplast or anything in them. We know that they're there. But we've got that layer there. Now these are thin and see-through, so they're transparent. They allow light to pass through. Now, under this layer, we've got our first layer of cells. This is called the palisade layer. And we've got a whole section of cells that look like our typical plant cells. So they are oblong shaped, they are very, very long, and they are filled with lots and lots of chloroplast. So I'm not going to fill in the whole thing, but we get the idea that it goes along. So it's the palisade layer. P-I-P-A-L-I-S-A-D Apologies for my writing here. The palisade layer have got lots and lots and lots of chloroplast in there. The chloroplast contain the chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is our green pigment that absorbs all the light. Now, chloroplast is also where photosynthesis takes place. The majority of it takes place in the palisade cells. I won't fill all of them in, but we get the idea. They are all there. Now, like I said, photosynthesis takes place in those palisade cells. They're right at the top of the leaf. They receive the most sunlight. We know that we need sunlight to make it happen. We also need carbon dioxide and water to get to the cells. So we'll first look at the carbon dioxide. Now, at the bottom of the leaf, we've got our lower epidermis. And we've also got lots of little tiny holes in there as well. We'll draw our lower epidermal cells. And we've got our holes or stomata. So stoma is just a word meaning hole. We've got lots of them, they become stomata. Around the outside of each stomata, we have things called guard cells. And we'll draw them on. Now, the purpose of the guard cells is that they can fill with water and they can help to close or open the stomata. So we'll label on our stomata. It's just a hole. It's not actually anything, it's just a hole. So stomata. And either side of it are our guard cells. Now, the guard cells control whether the stomata are opened or closed. If they are open, it means gases can diffuse in and out. If they are closed, it means gases can't diffuse in and out. So during the day, when there's lots of sunlight, we want lots of carbon dioxide and oxygen to be diffusing in and out. See, carbon dioxide in, oxygen out. Apologies for my writing, it is terrible. And we've got our guard cells. So in the day, we want carbon dioxide to diffuse in and oxygen to diffuse out. So we have the stomata open. Overnight, there is no sunlight, so the stomata are closed because there's no point in getting carbon dioxide going in. We can't do anything with it, and the plant will want to keep its oxygen there to use for respiration. So we've got these holes, these stomata, that carbon dioxide can diffuse into. I'll draw one over here. I have CO2 going in. It's going in through diffusion. And we'll have oxygen is coming out again via diffusion. Now, the great thing about leaves is, if you've looked at them, they are very, very thin. Because they're so thin, it means the gases only have a very, very tiny distance to move across to get to the palisade cells or any of the cells for photosynthesis. Now, in this big gap here between our lower epidermis and our palisade layer, we've got this spongy mesophyll layer. Now, these cells are a bit more irregularly shaped. They are still plant cells, but they are not our typical plant cell shapes. They're a lot spongier. And we also have these air spaces in between them. So we'll get an air space there. Now, the air space allows the carbon dioxide to diffuse quite happily through from the stomata up to the palisade layer into all the cells, and again, oxygen diffusing out. So air spaces. Because we've got that space, it means we can diffuse quite easily, because again, we're taking the carbon dioxide in and using it in the reaction. There is a low concentration of carbon dioxide within the leaf, so carbon dioxide will move in through diffusion. It's got a larger concentration gradient to move through. So we've got our mesophyll layer here. Now we've got our carbon dioxide going to our cells, and we've got our oxygen coming away. So that's only half of the equation. We also need to be able to get water to the plant, or to the cells, and we need to be able to take glucose away. They can't get in through diffusion. So if you look at plants, or if you look at leaves, you may notice that they have these lines on them. Those lines are called veins. So the vein is a vascular bundle, much like in us. We've got veins, it's carrying things. So we've got our vein here, this big circle thing. Within the vein, we've got two different things. We've got xylem, we'll do that in blue. Xylem are lots of little tubes. They are dead cells. They're covered in lignin, just to provide them with some strength, and they transport water from the roots up to the leaves. That's the process called transpiration. Drawn them in blue there. So the water's coming here, and it will then deliver it to the cells here to be used for photosynthesis. We then obviously have our phloem as well. Now our phloem is how we take glucose away from the leaves and to other parts of the plant where we might want to store it as starch. We might want to use it for respiration ourselves, might turn it into cellulose to help provide some strength. So the plants will turn it into starch so they can store it for a later date. They will give it to their seed. So when a seed is planted, they will have their own food source before they've grown their leaves and can photosynthesize. So we'll just label this one xylem. Apologies. Again, apologise for the clicking. We've got our xylem there and our phloem there. So the xylem delivers the water to the cells for photosynthesis, and the phloem takes the glucose and the other nutrients as well away from the leaves to be stored or used somewhere else in the plant. So there we've got a cross section of our leaf. We've got that waxy layer at the top to prevent the leaf from getting too wet. We've got that upper epidermis to allow the sunlight through. We've got our palisade cells, which is where the majority of photosynthesis happens. We've got our spongy mesophyll layer that's got lots of air spaces in to allow diffusion. And we've got our stomata and our guard cells, the stomata allowing oxygen and carbon dioxide to diffuse in or out of the leaf, and our guard cells to control whether our stomata are open and closed. We've got our veins with our xylem and phloem to carry water to the leaves and phloem to take the glucose away. Again, our leaves are very, very thin to make diffusion of gases very, very easy. And we've got lots and lots of chloroplast containing that green pigment chlorophyll for photosynthesis. So the last thing I would like you to do, I'm going to show you a table with the adaptations of the leaf. I would like you to write in the function of each adaptation, so why the plant has that adaptation. So there are 6 of them to fill in. I'd like to pause the video and have a go at filling it in. Welcome back. So we're going to go through the functions. We'll go from top to bottom. So the leaves are broad, and this gives them a large surface area for light to fall on. The more light they can get, the more photosynthesis they can carry out. Leaves are thin, so they're thin because it makes the diffusion distance for the gas shorter. So they haven't got as far to diffuse, makes it a lot easier to happen. The leaves contain chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is that green pigment that absorbs the light for photosynthesis. Now, the leaves have veins which contain our xylem and phloem, and that's to carry water to the leaves through our xylem, and that's the process of transpiration, and the phloem carries the products away from the leaf, and that's our process called translocation. The leaves have got air spaces, and that allows carbon dioxide and oxygen to diffuse to or from the cells where photosynthesis is occurring. The last one we've got there, the leaves have got guard cells. The purpose of the guard cells is to open and close the stomata, and that regulates the gas exchange. Thank you very much for watching the video. I hope it has been informative. Please subscribe to the channel so you can get updates as they come through. I hope everything has been explained clearly. Have a nice day.